Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Okanogan Prospers. My name is Chanel Carlin, and I am a professional wedding officiant here in Okanogan with Chanel Carlin Weddings. And each month, I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing business owners and executives of local organizations to find out what it is that they love about Okanogan, why they have a business here, why they have an organization here, why they want to live here, why they want to raise a family here. Just in general, what it is that they think makes Okanogan prosper. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Stacy, the executive director with the Okanogan Land Trust. So we'll learn about everything that the OLT has going on, what exciting things are happening in the world of conservation, and also what made Stacy actually want to come here to Okanogan to settle down and take a job. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started meeting with Stacy. Stacy, thank you so much for joining us today. Did I do it right?
I know. I saw in a couple of years that was like, oh, and I got a press record.
Yeah. Okay, so it says we're recording. Yay! Woo! Yay! The technology will sometimes get me. Okay, Stacy, so like we were just chatting about, and I think by now everybody that's seen any of these videos knows we're very laid back. It is Okanogan, after all. So I would love it if you wouldn't mind sharing with me, what is it that made you want to come to Okanogan? How long have you been here now?
Yeah, I have been here just over a year. So I started with the Okanogan Land Trust in August of 2019. And I came from Texas. I was working with the federal government. I was working with NASA down there in their environmental program. And I missed working with a land trust. I missed working with landowners. I missed working with a nonprofit and grassroots community organizations. So I left and found a great opportunity here. And I wanted to come to Washington. So it worked out really well, and it's been a really great year, and I'm just really happy to be here.
That, I just, first of all, I can't even believe it's been over a year already. I remember when Brian brought you to your first chamber meeting, and it doesn't seem like it was that long ago. Really.
Yeah, a time warp happened somewhere in there.
I know, it really did. Well, welcome to Okanogan then, in Washington.
Thank you.
What made you want to come up to Washington from Texas? I mean, that's kind of a little off topic, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, I have family on the West Coast, kind of all up and down from California to Alaska, and I love the rural. I love living in rural places. I love the countryside. I love being able to get out and access the wilderness. And as you know, there's a lot of access to that here. And so it was a really good opportunity, a really great place to come and explore, and it's been worth it. Awesome. It's also really fun when Canada is open to go and visit Canada.
It is fun, and it's so close.
Yeah.
It's so close, and it's so weird now that we can't go at all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome again. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. What about?
And I just came back from. Oh, I'm sorry, Chanel. I just came back from a short trip, and just coming back from the Wenatchee area, and just how much you have to wind through to find Okanogan. I just love how off the map it is in that way. It's just nice to be in a rural place where you know that landscapes are intact, and just the people here are really nice as well. So yeah, it's a really great place to be.
It's funny because that's something that a lot of folks share in these videos, and you might have seen that because you said you watched some of them.
Yeah.
One of the things that people always say, and that we have found as well, is how nice people are here, and really how welcoming of a place Okanogan is. At least that's how I found it to be. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm definitely and will always be a newcomer from what I understand. So, and that's okay. But nonetheless, people have been really supportive and are also really supportive of the Land Trust. I remember last year when we had our Spring Forward event, which is an annual event that we have in March when right around when the time's changing. just to celebrate spring, celebrate community that supports us and that we want to be a part of. And so we were asking around to different business owners if they could support our silent auction in any way. And just like the amount of support and the amount of items that people provided, just not even like businesses, but also community members. It was pretty awesome. And so that's a lot to be grateful for. Yeah.
That's good. So talk about the land trust, because I know a lot of folks in Okanogan are very knowledgeable about the Okanogan Land Trust, but there will be some who are newer and also who don't own property, who might not understand what a land trust is and what the Okanogan Land Trust does.
Yeah, great. And that's also okay for people who don't own land. We still, part of our mission is to serve everyone, to serve the public. So we're a nonprofit. We exist for the public good. And so the work that we do with private landowners benefits those landowners in a lot of ways. But they also have a lot of motivation to preserve their land for future generations. And in preserving the land that we have now, it is protecting water quality and air quality for everybody in the community. Mm-hmm. So the land trust exists because in 2002, so about 18 years ago, the founding members, a couple of the founding members had put a conservation easement on their property up by Loop Loop. And they had worked with the land trust that existed at the time in this area, which was the Methow Conservancy, which still exists in the Methow Valley. And that was Fern and Roger Rosenblatt. And they were part of a group called the North Okanogan Sportsmen's Council. And that group was kind of transforming. And so they were looking to see what else that club could become. And they had such a good experience placing a conservation easement on their property that they thought that kind of capacity could be built up here in the Okanogan Valley. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, it was called the Okanogan Valley Land Council. And since then, I believe it was 2012, the name was changed to the Okanogan Land Trust. And so that's what we've been ever since. But yeah, since 2002, Okanogan Land Trust has protected with conservation easements, around 10,500 acres of land in Okanogan and Ferry counties.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you say that it's conserved, or you're working with the landowners, conservation easements, what does that look like in layman's terms?
And I will put a plug now, and then I'll say later, we are going to share a lot of that information, and I'll share it here too, but we're having an event next Wednesday, October 28th, at 6:30 p.m. called Spirits of Conservation, and it's going to be a really fun happy hour. People can dress up in costumes since it's close to Halloween, and we're actually going to hear from landowners. So landowners who currently have conservation easements on their property are going to share their story, their motivation, what they learned along the way, how the process went for them, and how it's been. Most of all the landowners that you're going to hear from have had conservation easements on their property for over 10 years. Okay. So they're going to let you know how that experience has been to work with Okanogan Land Trust. So a lot of times, and like pre-COVID, we had a lot of people that would come into our office. And I would say about once a month at least, landowners that would express interest to learn about conservation easements and how it relates to them as private property owners. Mm-hmm. As a private property owner, you have the right to conserve your property just as much as you have the right to develop. And so we just facilitate that property right. We facilitate your ability to conserve your land for future generations. And so we'll meet with the landowner. We'll learn where their properties are. We'll take a look at the conservation values that might be associated with that property. So what kind of animals live there? Is there forest land? Is it agricultural land? And that helps us determine if it can be conserved as habitat or as agriculture. And that helps us justify the conservation value of the property, because that's why we exist, to conserve those conservation values. So I can go on, and I'm happy to, but that's a little snippet of what it's like to be a landowner and to approach us. And we go through that process with them so that they can understand that.
Okay. And then okay, so we'll learn more about that next week.
Yeah.
I'll be looking forward to that. And we'll talk about that again before we finish this interview. But what is it that what else do you have going on? I mean, what else does Okanogan Land Trust have going on this year? I mean, I know that normally you're out going on walks around the property and you have different events that happen throughout the year. Have you been able to do most of those virtually, or what else has been happening?
Yeah, so we have a series called the Okanology. It's a free public speaker series, and actually Bill, your husband, created the logo for that. So thank you, Bill. And so we hold these about 4 times a year, and sometimes we mix in a field trip. And obviously this year the field trip style isn't happening, but we have had I believe it was 2 in-person Okanologies, so one in February and one in January. And then since then, we've had them online. And the ones we had this year, the first one in January was about salmon and about the culture around salmon and about ways that people can protect the tributaries that run into the Okanogan River, where these salmon go into the tributaries to spawn. So we learned about that in January, and then in February we learned about geology from a local geologist. Oh, excuse me, in February we learned about bees, native bees, from Don Rolfs, who is a bee expert from Wenatchee. And so he came up and shared, I believe it was 600 images of native bees. And I think it really blew the audience away. It blew me away. And he was so generous with his time. And the kids were really engaged. I think they had more questions at the end than the adults, which was awesome.
They always
yeah, right. And so these are some of the ways that we engage with the public, and some of the ways that we, try to serve and play out our mission in various ways aside from conservation easements. And then again, so we learned about geology at the next Okanology. That was our first virtual event. And then most recently, we had one on transportation and the history of transportation in Washington. So we try to do social history and natural history. And so those are what those Okanology series are about. And so the Spirits of Conservation is just a brand new event that we came up with because we wanted to share more about conservation easements, since it's not always, the most obvious process or the most obvious mechanism for preserving land.
Right. Well, that's brilliant. I know we're registered to go. So.
Oh, good. That's so good to hear.
We registered last night.
Hooray! Thanks. We'll see you there. Do you have a costume prepared?
This is the first I've heard of a costume, so
okay.
I'll have to think of something, maybe.
You'll have to, yeah.
It's been a while since I got to go do anything for Halloween, so I don't know. I'm sure we'll find something.
You could also just bring a drink, or you can just listen in. It's everybody's welcome.
We'll figure something out anyway. So now, do you have any other plans? So this is October. Anything else going to be happening for the rest of the year? Will that carry you kind of into 2021?
Yeah, for events, that will be it for 2020. I want to mention too, we had overwhelming support of our Ponderosa campaign. So this is another event that we put on in the summers, and it's usually with the conservation easement holders and some of our major supporters, some of local leaders. And we bring them together for a dinner, and we have a speaker, and we let them know just how grateful we are for their support and that they are the Okanogan Land Trust, because we don't exist without that support. And so instead of having that event this year, we had just a campaign, an appeal. We sent a letter and let everybody know that we wish we could invite them to dinner, but next year we'll have that. And we received a lot of we received a lot of donations from that campaign, and that was just amazing, especially in this time. So so we're really grateful for that. And we'll have our end of year appeal as well that we do every December. And before that, you'll see a newsletter come out from us. So we try to put those out about once a quarter.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So not only are people in Okanogan really friendly, they're really generous.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we have a few of the easement holders live on the west side as well, so that some people have some second homes over here and wanted to preserve the land that they have over here. So we have support all over the state, but certainly from Okanogan is our, kind of our stronghold for support. So that's
awesome.
really great. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so now I guess this is the main question that I always think about. We've touched on it just a little bit. When we talk about the idea of this video series, which is Okanogan Prospers, what is it that you think really makes Okanogan special? Because small towns in our state and across the country really struggle. They struggle to survive. And Okanogan is a very small town. Some people think of small towns as like, less than 20,000 people. And we are not, we're a tenth of that, basically. It's a really small community. What is it that you think, based on how long you've been here, what is it that you think genuinely makes Okanogan prosper?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, because many of the people that I get to interact with are ranchers and farmers, I would say that obviously the agriculture industry here, the agriculture economy is really strong. The culture of the agricultural community is really strong here. And I think that's all like something to be very proud of. And I think that's something that the community lifts up and is proud of. And I think that makes Okanogan really special and really unique. With so much farmland being developed across the country, it is something that makes this place very valuable. And a lot of times that value isn't equated into dollars in the same way that we talk about other things. But for the few instances where there is research and reports on the value of that land, I think that really speaks for itself. I just learned about a week or so ago when I was talking with the Fish and Wildlife Service, there was a spatial ecologist that mentioned, I think it's 60 or 70% of the wetlands in the West can be found on agricultural land. Okay. Because that irrigation that they're putting back onto the land helps the wetlands that are there, and that helps the species that are coming through, that are migrating through. So I think there's a lot there that we can learn from, and the landowners that know so much about their land and how to manage it well and how to keep it going through multiple generations. I think that's something that makes Okanogan really special.
It's important to them. It's not just land. It's their home. It's their livelihood. It's their generational. It's what they have to offer their family and their community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think putting it as their livelihood, their lifestyle, it's who they are. And, I think that Okanogan and the people in Okanogan lift that up. And I think that's what the Okanogan Land Trust wants to do, is lift that up and help support people who want to take care of the land. And so I think that's really complementary. And I think that's why, Okanogan prospers agriculturally, just because there is a culture to support the farmers and ranchers and the private land owners. So
brilliant. I think that's a great. Yeah. That's the first time I've heard that answer, so that's a great one. Thank you. I love that perspective. All right, so just one last thing is for you to share again what's happening next Wednesday, because I really want people to be fully cognizant what's happening and what they need to do to participate.
Sure. Okay. So we ask that people register, just as you and Bill have. So you can go to our Facebook, our social media page, and you can also go to our website, which is just okanoganlandtrust.org, and you'll find a link to register. And then with that registration, we'll send you the Zoom invitation for this virtual happy hour costume event, or just come as you are and learn about conservation easements and hear stories from landowners. So it's called Spirits of Conservation. It'll be next Wednesday, October 28th at 6:30 p.m.
Okay, brilliant. And it's completely virtual.
And it's completely virtual, yeah. You can have your bubble all in one little Zoom box, but it'll be virtual otherwise.
Okay. Okay. Brilliant. All right. Well, Stacey, I so appreciate you taking time to come and talk with me and share your perspective on Okanogan. And thanks so much for coming to our town, because it's people like us who come here, not only the people who've lived here forever, who this town wouldn't still exist if not for them, but it continues to, I think, to grow and thrive and be vibrant because new people come in with their passion and their desire to be part of this community. So thanks for being willing to come here.
Thank you, Chanel. Yeah, and I should say, like, it's a very supportive environment, and I appreciate that. And our board of directors, some of those folks have been with Okanogan Land Trust since the beginning, and many of them way before Okanogan Land Trust existed. So, I'm always welcome and open to hearing from people who have been here much, much longer than I have, and I appreciate that. So thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. And have a brilliant day. I don't know what else you got going on today, but I hope you enjoy it.
All right. I'm here at the office. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks.
Go.
Bye.
Bye.